So, I played this game recently called Call of the Sea. It's a casual game, an adventure, inspired by the Lovecraftian mythos, yet bright, calm and hopeful. A good change of pace. But there was something central but widely overlooked, hidden in the plain sight, yet not acknowledged, and it just kept bugging me. I, along with anyone else playing this game, played through the eyes of Nora, a woman on a quest to find her husband, desperate enough to travel halfway around the globe with only a picture of his whereabouts and a few words as a clue after months of not hearing from him. Nora is both the main character and the center point, the reason for her husband's, Harry's, expedition taking place. Harry was out to find a cure for her mysterious illness, while she stayed back home. And now it was her time to find him. Now, Nora is not me. I had no say in how she reacts to anything on the island whatsoever. Call of the Sea isn't a role-playing game full of choice, but an adventure. I wasn't able to choose a personality to play as, the backstory or visage of the main character. Nora is Nora. It's her story told through her eyes, like an interactive book or a movie. I was merely an observer, hidden behind her vision of the island, the tropical paradise she was led to. And paradise it was. Antithesis to other Lovecraftian stories I saw, played and read. There are no crooked dark streets drowning in rain, no ports full of almost hostile workmen. There are no monsters chasing you, no cultists working towards the destruction of the world as we know it. And the main character is a lovely woman, determined to find her husband. It's a story driven by resolution and love. But there is darkness. It shows more and more as you go further. But despite the mysterious black ichor being central to the more strikingly dark parts of the story, in my eyes, the real darkness has a different, more human face. The Everhard expedition, led and funded by Harry Everhard, had one and only one specific goal: to find a cure for Harry's wife, Nora's, mysterious illness. Something that would kill her in time, just as it did her mother. Harry, it seemed, somehow narrowed the solution down, believing it to be on an island 74 nautical miles from Tahiti, and sometime during that search, he disappeared. It's a note about him scribbled on his photo posted from Tahiti that brought Nora to the island. On a rather brave rescue mission, her being a lone woman unable to even walk fast due to her decline in health, traveling halfway across the globe as a rescue party of one to an island even sailors avoid if they can help it. It took days of begging Captain Hodgson to let her land on the island. With a reputation scaring even the most weathered of sailors, I can only imagine what it took for Harry to get his whole expedition there. But the island itself felt like paradise. Maybe that's why the spiked gates didn't deter Harry. Well, they sure didn't stop Nora from following in his footsteps. The goal was clear: be an explorer, a detective, piece together what happened and maybe, just maybe, find the Everhard expedition. That, however, soon proved unlikely. It's in the first campsite we find a tombstone. Roy Granger, one of the 5 companions Harry hired, died on the 14th of July, 1934. Arrogant and impatient to wait, he used dynamite to blow up a well, getting killed in the process. During this explosion, the expedition's doctor, Ernest, got splattered with ichor, a mysterious substance located on the sites of the island's oldest ruins. But accidents do happen, don't they? Especially to the impatient hotheads. They do, even though Tehara, a Tahitian guide familiar with the local legends, warned them about the dangers of the ruins. Nobody could have known. But the expedition must go on, and neither a death of an expedition member nor the immediate worsening of the doctor's faculties is a reason to falter. Not even when he develops a skin condition due to the ichor touching him. Not even when he is driven mad and stabs another member of the expedition, a young man named Frank. It seems in his quest for the cure, nothing was reason enough for Harry to stop or turn back and seek help. With Teaharua leaving due to arguments and quite possibly some common sense, the party is soon reduced to 2 people, with 2 or more likely 3 dead left behind. There is a fine line between love and obsession, between solicitude and sacrifice, between the will to push forward to help someone and lack of conscience regarding the consequences. It's way too easy to sacrifice something if that sacrifice isn't yours. Of course, this kind of blind devotion isn't exclusive to grand expeditions to the unknown. I really think it happens more than we realize, albeit on a scale most of us wouldn't even consider as such. It's in a way a parent might guard their kids so they can sit while someone else really needs the seat. In the way someone chooses to the liking of one, forcing their tastes on the rest of the group, regardless of their preferences or needs. It's these small inconsiderate things we do to others to seemingly protect our loved ones, no matter what scale, that can make us antagonists in other people's stories. In the stories of Ernest, Roy, and Frank, the antagonist, the seemingly good-natured but love-blinded and frankly obsessed mad scientist, their charming Mr. Freeze, is really none other than Nora's lost husband, Harry. But things do get worse. And so much worse. As I watched through Nora's eyes as she ventured deeper into the island, through the ruins so ancient their writings could be deciphered only symbolically, as I followed her steps through visions and dreams and subsequent awakening in a dark storm, I came across this. This torso of a ship, now a lying wreck, is, or rather was, Lady Shannon, the very ship that got the Everhard expedition to the island. There are no survivors to be found, nor is there mention of any, even though a ship this big had to have a large crew, probably even a few dozen people. Yet there's no one, not even a body to be found. What I did find were the captain's logs, stating the famed dangers around this island, how nobody dares to sail anywhere near. It must have taken Harry a lot of convincing, or rather money, to persuade the captain to drop the expedition off. That decision was what cost the captain and his whole crew their lives. I cannot help but wonder, was the storm that wrecked the ship caused by the disruption to the ritual site, just as the one Nora caused by finishing the ritual itself? The slashes in the ship's hull, large enough for a person to walk through, are a clean sign that it was the monster, the behemoth guardian of the island Nora saw in her vision, that sank it. Perhaps what Nora saw, what I saw through her eyes, wasn't a vision after all. This is the reason people don't go to the island, that ships don't sail there. But the crew of Lady Shannon did, and paid the price. While Nora shakingly went through the wreckage in search for her missing husband, all I saw was another few dozen or maybe even more lives written off as collateral damage to Harry's savior quest. Dozens of people gone. All in the name of trying to find a cure for one person. Someone who, for all her likability and empathy, doesn't seem to realize how much the ideal of her cost other people. And who, while in awe that all of this was for little old her, seems to forget that so were the accompanying deaths and destruction. And it's these other people that both Harry and Nora largely disregard. Take Frank, the mechanic of the expedition, stabbed by the ichor-medden doctor. He didn't die right away. In fact, he went on, even with his ever-worsening wound. There were only 4 people left to continue the expedition by this time. He, Teaharua, Cassandra, and Harry. Discounting the fact that Harry as the leader and sponsor wouldn't have to do as much as the others, and Cassandra, being a woman, would likely be spared the heaviest work. They managed, in 4 people, to bring all this from the wrecked ship up the mountain. In fact, they brought it so high, it was hard for Nora to walk the trek up even once. It's no wonder we find out that Frank, weakened by his wound that just wouldn't heal, would wither away under a heavy workload to the point of passing away. This was a man Harry was close to calling a friend, and still with little regard to him, instead of taking care of his health, Harry's quest took priority. All that was left of Frank was a makeshift grave with a photo of him with his little daughter. And it wasn't just Frank who had family. It would be improbable at best to think that the crew of Lady Shannon was comprised only of people with no strings attached. Nobody lives in a vacuum, not really. This wreckage, along with the expedition, touched many more people, unseen and unmentioned. The dead, the vanished, their families? Most of them never signed on for any of this. All collateral, in one man's quest to find a cure for his love. Perhaps the most uncomfortable feeling is that I do understand Harry. The need to protect, to do things for loved ones, and let the whole world burn if that's what it takes, is surely buried somewhere in my consciousness, just as it is for so many others. For the things that are most important, people can justify even villainy, if villainy is the means to the end. To me, Harry's actions were exactly that. He didn't do this to save someone's life out of the goodness of his heart. He did this to save the love of his life, the woman he'd already spent many years with, because he couldn't bear the idea of losing her, and he was willing to sacrifice, albeit indirectly, lives and happiness of others to save her. For this, he used the island as a giant playground, creating scavenger hunt for Nora to navigate, placing cues and signs to guide her, even going so far as to use someone's body as a prop. And it's understandable. Each and every Harry's decision I uncovered made sense. But the sacrifice? The lives? They weren't his to give. Harry wasn't heartless. Before getting to the island's true secrets, Harry wrote and left unfinished a letter confessing the deaths of the expedition members were weighing on him, emphasizing the hopelessness he felt. Yet, it rings hollow, as after finishing his journey, his plight, after all the tragedy his expedition caused, he sends Nora a note, inevitably luring her to the island. And whether he realizes it or not, by doing this, he endangers another ship full of people, putting it into the same waters, in the same danger as Lady Shannon, a ship whose missing crew were never once mentioned by him, seemingly just a collateral.